Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to start by expressing my support for the Department of Energy's efforts to accelerate the development of energy storage. However, improving energy storage technologies is only one component to shifting to 100% renewable power like Hawaii is doing. And this is why I introduced the Next Generation Electric Systems Act. The demonstration grants in the act would bring together the DOE and private expertise to spur innovation in the ability of the grid to provide families and businesses with affordable power from clean sources while benefiting from energy storage, local microgrids, and electric vehicles. So I want to thank the chair, the ranking member, and Senator Cantwell for including the grid technology demonstration grants in the American Energy Innovation Act that we are considering on the floor even as we speak. Last week, you testified to the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Energy and Water Development that, quote, we need to get to grid-scale battery storage. That allows people to move even further, perhaps even to one day where we achieve the goal of 100% renewables, end quote. You've acknowledged the vision of Hawaii and 9 other states, District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, all of which have set 100% renewable and clean energy targets for their jurisdictions. So how do you square the vision you shared last week, which I agree, and the scale of the challenge of confronting climate change with a budget that cuts renewable energy funding by 74%, cuts basic science funding by 17%, and increases electricity funding by only 2%?
Senator, thank you for the question. You know, what we have done in the budget is focus our investments into some very important areas. And one of them you mentioned, the grid scale storage initiative that we have at our Western lab, the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, PNNL, in Washington State. We announced there the effort to build a new laboratory, or a new facility, I should say, to develop grid scale battery storage. And why is that important? It's important not only for the purposes of integrating renewable energy onto the grid, which is something I know that you care deeply about and Hawaii has been a leader on. It's also important for grid resiliency itself. If we have grid-scale battery storage, for instance, for a nuclear facility or a coal facility.
Of course, I'm with you on the need for battery storage research, but it's just one part of getting to a renewable energy future. So, you know, this may be more a statement or a comment, but as some of my colleagues have already said, the budget reflects values, and I do not believe that this budget reflects the value of supporting alternative and renewable energy. Let me move on. Each year, the Trump administration has proposed canceling the Advanced Research Projects Agency, Energy, ARPA-E, and so far, Congress has wisely rejected the idea each year. Congress established ARPA-E to take a chance on highly innovative energy technologies that could benefit the public in the long term. For example, ARPA-E is supporting research in Hawaii on harvesting seaweed as a potential local renewable energy source. The ARPA-E model of high-risk, high-reward projects may not translate as easily to small businesses that are taking more proven technologies from the national labs and scaling them up. So the Small Business Innovation Research, SBIR, and Small Business Technology Transfer, STTR, programs are more focused on transferring good ideas to the market than on proving the ideas are solid to begin with. So your budget proposes to apply, because the budget also proposes cutting ARPA-E, but your budget proposes to apply ARPA-E practices to the SBIR and STTR programs. How do you plan to avoid applying the wrong tools to small businesses seeking to scale up technologies?
That's a good question. The conversation around ARPA-E that we had earlier, I think, is applicable here as well. We have proposed, the President's budget has proposed scaling back and reducing and eliminating, in the case of ARPA-E, some of these projects that we feel perhaps are better administered, if you will, by the private sector. And I recognize your point about the fact that there are small businesses who simply don't have the funding to go past the valley of death, and that's a very important, role that, programs like ARPA-E can eventually cover for them. But at least in the case of this budget, we feel very strongly that ARPA-E has perhaps outlived its purpose at the Department of Energy. That being said, as I mentioned to the chairwoman and other members of the committee, this is a proposal from the president. It is the beginning of a conversation with the Congress on what the ultimate budget number should be. And if the Congress or if this committee decides that it should be something different, you have my assurance that we will execute the program to your direction in the U.S. law.
Yeah, I don't understand how a program, ARPA-E, that really promotes highly innovative energy technologies, how that can have outlived its usefulness. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Hirono.